Hi, I'm Kay Warren, and with my husband Rick, we founded Saddleback Church in Lake Forest about 30 years ago. I'm really glad to be with you today. You know, in everybody's life, there are these moments that we're calling turning points, where something changes, where you were here at point A and then suddenly you're at point B, and there are these dramatic, life-altering moments that we never forget. A few years into the church, I had one of those moments that changed me forever. At that point, I'd say in ministry, I was pretty frustrated living what I thought was living in Rick's shadow. I was very confused about how to be a pastor's wife. I was overwhelmed by, I had little children. We were starting this church. At 26, I was the older Christian woman because everybody that we were bringing to Christ were baby believers, and we had this church full of baby believers, and so my expectations of myself were really high. I wanted to be a good wife, and I wanted to be a good mom, and I wanted to be a good pastor's wife, and everything was new and different, and there were just a lot of struggles. And I had grown up with this desire to be something special. I didn't want to be ordinary. I didn't want to be average. I didn't want to be just like everybody else. I wanted to excel at something. So I had tried really hard in school and did my best, but never really had gotten straight A's a single semester from kindergarten to college graduation, and a little frustrated with that. I was just average, and I was a pastor's daughter, and there was these expectations at the time that if you were a pastor's daughter, you had to play the piano. So I took piano lessons, and I worked really hard, and I liked it, but I was never really anything but average. And then I wanted to be beautiful. I mean, what girl doesn't want to be beautiful? And I wanted to be like drop dead gorgeous. I wanted to be like one of these people when you walk in the room that people just kind of go, like overcome with my beauty. And I watched the mirror very carefully for signs of this, budding beauty, and I just was average. And so when I married Rick and we started Saddleback, and I had this expectation of I was going to be something special and something different, and I just found myself so ordinary. Really, really struggled with that. One day I was driving to an event, a women's event that we were having, and like I said, I was the older Christian woman, so I got elected to be the speaker, even though I really didn't speak. So I'm driving along and I'm having this pity party and just telling God how He had made a mistake when He made me, that I was way too average in everything. I was not pretty enough, I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't talented enough. How could I possibly ever do anything of any significance for Him? Rick had made an absolute mistake in marrying me. He should have married somebody else. So I'm crying and I'm whining and I'm moaning, and yet I had to go speak, and so I thought I better get my attitude somehow straightened out. So I turned on the radio in the car, and there was this song playing, and it was just this message from God to me. And it was a song called Ordinary People. It's based out of John chapter 6 and the story of the little boy who gave Jesus his lunch. Here Jesus is feeding the 5,000, and he looks around and he tells his disciples, you go feed him. And they're like, what? And then they bring him this little boy, and this little boy has got a lunch, and it's got, fish and loaves, just this ordinary daily lunch that somebody would eat. And the words to the song go something like this: God chooses ordinary people. He chooses people just like you and me, who are willing to do what He commands, even though their little may seem not much to them, but when they place it in the Master's hand, then little becomes much. And those words to that song, the words to that song that day were really like from God's heart to mine. And He was telling me, Kay, I made you this way. I chose you. I could have made you a superstar. I could have made you smarter, prettier, more talented. I could have made you more athletic. I could have done a lot of things different in your life, but I chose to make you an ordinary woman. And I want to do something miraculous in and through your life. And that was a turning point for me. It changed my entire perspective about myself. I began to, in that day, joyfully accept the way that God had made me. And instead of whining and fighting Him and questioning how He had made me this particular way, I began to be very excited, because as I looked through the pages of Scripture, I found so many ordinary people that were shepherds and just shopkeepers and farmers and peasant girls. And those were the people that God chose to use. I mean, yes, He did choose the superstars. There were the Moses and Peter and Paul, and there are a few of those kind of folks in the Bible, but it's mostly a story of just ordinary men and women who as they go through their daily lives, choose to give what they have to God and then expect Him to do something with it. And so over these last probably 28 years since that incident happened, I have not wasted more than just a few moments wishing that God had made me different, wishing that He had made me prettier, smarter, all of those things. I have come to believe that God has made me exactly the way He wants me to be. And here's the truth. He wants you to stop moaning about who you are. Stop wishing that you were somebody else. Stop comparing yourself to your husband or to some other woman in ministry that you think has got it all together. And look through the pages of Scripture and understand that God intentionally made you exactly the way He did for a reason. And when you give to Him what seems to be, I mean, to me, that little boy, his lunch was just nothing. It was just so average. That's the way I felt about my life. But when you and I give to God what we consider to be our very small averageness, it opens up the possibility for God to do miracles and for Him to get the glory. Because people look at us and they go, I know who you are, and I know who I am. I am an average person who has decided to take God at His word. You can too. God bless you.